Hello everybody, my name is Andy. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am very glad that you are here. I do sex education videos more or less every single week. So stick around, you'll learn a bunch of stuff. And that is true of today as well, because we are going to be talking about intimacy coordinators. So what is an intimacy coordinator? Well, if you've seen programs like Netflix's Sex Education or BBC One's Normal People, you would have noticed there are a bunch of sex scenes or intimate moments in those shows. Now, those are two shows who have recently brought on intimacy coordinators. They're not the director, they are somebody who is brought in to coordinate the intimacy, yes, obviously, but they are somebody who is like doing the choreography and the stunts. They are more akin to a stunt coordinator than a director. One of the go-to people in the industry here in the UK at least is Ita O'Brien, and she was the intimacy coordinator on Sex Education, the Netflix series. Now, of course, the whole point in that particular show is to be inclusive and to teach people the right ways of doing things and all the rest of it. So it was a perfect gig for an intimacy coordinator. But they are becoming much more popular in not just television shows like that, but in films. And films are notorious, unfortunately, for their sex scenes. So obviously it's not always been this way. So how did we get here? For as long as there's been mainstream film, there have been intimate moments in those things. And throughout the 60s and 70s, those got much more risque. So this isn't porn films or films that you'd have special ratings for, you'd have to see in special cinemas or anything like that. But as there was less and less censorship, and therefore less and less things were being cut out and left on the cutting room floor by the censors, that means there are more and more risque things that happened in film, and therefore more intimacy between the actors. There is an infamous incident in the 1972 film Last Tango in Paris, where the actress is, for the most of the film, is on script, and she has sexual relations with the male character in the film and all the rest of it. She's naked for some of it. All of that is actually fine and above board. However, there was a scene in that film which was basically akin to anal rape, where the female character did not consent to what was going on and ended up being quite shall we say, a mentally taxing scene for the actress. Now, it was not in the script. It was sprung upon the actress at the time. The actress herself was quite young at the time, she was 19, and because there wasn't really anybody in the cast, the crew, which she could protest to, she had to go along with it, or it ended up that she had to go along with it. She didn't feel like she had the capital to push back. So against her better judgment, the scene happened. Now, no actual anal sex took place. It was obviously simulated. But as the scene it was acted out, there was lubricant involved, and that lubricant was butter. So you can imagine the thought process of an actress who's just been told half an hour before they're due to film the scene that this is what's going to happen. It's not been in the script. She's not been able to ready herself for it. She hasn't consented to it. And in the end, the scene goes ahead. The actor, who was Marlon Brando, by the way, the actor, although was very professional about it, still has to make it look realistic and all the rest of it. So it didn't go down well. And the actress, who is Maria Schneidner, never acted ever again. And she said afterwards, it felt like the director had raped her a little bit, which is interesting considering what the content of the scene was. But it's that mental scarring from not consenting to something, even though there wasn't any actual penetration, simulation, but there's still a lot of intimacy, and she hadn't prepared herself for it. This is just an example of how the film industry worked at the time. The idea was that you got better sex scenes from it because it was more realistic, you know, and there was a bit of, oh, well, the actresses will never agree to it, so we just won't tell them. You know, it was that old boys club, yeah? And obviously, that's not really how it works today, although I'm sure there are instances of it happening. But in mainstream, well-known productions, you won't find that happening in 2020. However, as we enter the 21st century, there's obviously a lot more openness from actors. They go on television shows and talk about this kind of thing. Plenty of internet panel things and all the rest of it. And they say that sex scenes now are, if they go well, they are awkward, depersonalized, and if you're really lucky, you'll get on with the scene, you do what you need to do, and then you don't talk about it afterwards. You just meet each other at the water cooler and nobody talks about what's just happened. It still puts the actors in a very vulnerable position on camera.
It was just very vulnerable, and you don't know what's too much, and you don't want to do it real. You want everything to be real.
They are essentially doing their job, but they're doing it because the director is asking them to do stuff. Obviously, sometimes you get more pushy directors. Obviously, you get sometimes not so experienced actors, so they haven't got the capital to push back against it. Maybe they're early on in their careers, that kind of thing. And you end up with this situation where actually it's not good for the actors, but it's also not good for the production. There's no comfort in doing the scene. There's no openness about what's going to happen. It's very much go in, do the scene and get out. And what you get isn't a very good product. If you watch early 2000s and all the way up to even today in some cases, but plenty of sex scenes during that period look very, very boring wooden because nobody wanted to do anything wrong. I'm sure things went wrong, but you know, in general, people didn't want to do anything wrong, you know. Let's just get on with it and get out. So then comes the rise of the intimacy coordinators. So yes, it's out of things like Me Too and Time's Up, where there were definitely practices in Hollywood and elsewhere where you did things because that's how you got on. Right? So there's that. But also out of this 2000s, early 2010s kind of era where the sex scenes weren't very good. Also, better production values. It's definitely going in the right direction. Good practice, better product, that kind of thing. There was demand for better. We are obviously in the era of safety now. Safety for the actors, but also safety for the studios, covering their back. And there was demand for things to be more realistic. And this is where intimacy coordinators come into their own. Their job is to get consent for everything which is going to happen. They run through with not just the actors, but also the crew. They understand the context of the sex scenes. So if there is going to be some violent scene or violent sexual scene, then there has to be context for it. And everybody understands that context, not just the actors and the director, but everybody in the crew understands this context. It changes the atmosphere in there. It becomes a better performance. You get consent for everything, every single little thing. People have nudity waivers, nudity riders, where they say you can show the upper left quadrant of somebody's backside or their right nipple or the side all the way up to just under their armpit but no further. That kind of thing. These things are very, very detailed. So yes, they run through the entire scene with the actors beforehand, talking it through and reminding them if they don't want to carry on for whatever reason. Sometimes, particularly the male actors, they might get aroused. I mean, it happens. It's not, you're filming a sex scene. Maybe sometimes it's arousing. I think everybody understands this, but you can say at that moment, okay, hang on, I'm going to step back here. Agree between the two actors, or indeed many actors, as the case may be, that each part of what the other actor is going to do to them. The whole thing about continuous consent. At any time you can say, I don't want to continue with this, maybe we should rethink this, or perhaps, I just want to take a break, we'll come back in 5 and we'll do it then. All of those things are absolutely fine. And you wouldn't have had that certainly on any kind of regular basis with just directors, because directors, it's not their job to do that. Their job is to get the stuff on film. Yeah. So the intimacy coordinator in that respect will coordinate, will facilitate the director. The director wants certain shots and certain angles. If the actors agree to it, then great. They ask, is it necessary to have bare buttocks? Is it necessary to have breasts in the scene? It's all facilitated through the intimacy coordinator. Just like a stunt would be, any kind of stunt where you've got, explosives or acrobatics in action movies, yeah? The director doesn't decide all that. They say what they want, he or she or they say what they want, but it's the stunt coordinator which says, well, actually, this is going to be possible. You're able to do this. Maybe if you film it from this way, it might be better because you'll get more of whatever, because stunt coordinators are experts in that kind of thing. And that's exactly the same thing for intimacy coordinators. And the intimacy coordinator in that respect is kind of independent from the actual production. They are there to facilitate, but they are also there to prevent coercion. Anything which the actors aren't happy with, the intimacy coordinator can say no to the directors. That's how the situation works. Basically, the actors have got some backup in that respect, right? It's like having your own union rep, but one with very specialist knowledge. The good news is that intimacy coordinators are becoming the norm on so many sets and films and all the rest of it. HBO has said that there must be an intimacy coordinator on the staff for all of their scripted shows. It of course serves the production, because if the actors are more comfortable, the director could potentially get more of what they are looking for. The actors are more comfortable in interacting with the person that they are acting with, right? They're more comfortable with them. They are more connected to them. There's a story about a really brutal rape scene happening and it being the last scene between these two actors, and they've done 3 or 4 intimate scenes together. You get to the end of it, usually there'd be some kind of area that's like, well, thank goodness that's over. We can get out of here now. But the story goes that, oh, I don't want it to stop. They hugged each other, all the rest of it. You would never have got that before intimacy coordinators. It wouldn't have happened after that kind of scene. And, in 2020, it's the kind of thing which can help sell a show. It's not just sex on TV again. It's actually ethical, well thought through. It might reflect reality a lot more. You can do more kinky and more graphic things because you've got the comfort and the consent, very importantly, of the actors involved. And all that is a motivation in the industry. A better product, more realistic product, more people are likely to watch it. Great, surely. But it's not a silver bullet. It's not currently the industry standard. It should be, of course, but it isn't currently. It is gaining traction, and maybe it will become the industry standard very soon. But loads of studios haven't signed up to it yet. Yep, HBO are in there, but there's loads that still haven't got there. I'm sure the BBC and other UK production companies will start using this because it's a big thing over here. It was really successful in Sex Education and in Normal People as well. It's been really successful in those shows. It seems to be the direction of travel. But it could well be used as a box ticking exercise. You've got an intimacy coordinator on the staff, but are they actually effective? Are they listened to? Are they just ignored completely? Are they just, they're being paid and sat in the background, so they have an intimacy coordinator. Everybody's happy, apparently. And also, of course, it won't be available on lower budget, student productions, that kind of thing. So there's still, unfortunately, area for abuse in this sector. And maybe that's unavoidable. I don't want to say that, but it's maybe something which needs to be taught in drama schools. Yes, absolutely, we should have intimacy coordinators on set for all these productions, especially big production companies. But why aren't we teaching this in drama school, that these things are what you should expect from sex scenes, from intimate scenes? It's not just when you are simulating sex with an actor. Any kind of intimate moment, you should have to get consent from the actors and maintain that consent throughout the filming and the production. Of course, in that respect, it's just like real life. You should, in sexual encounters, get consent and maintain it through the entirety of the thing, right? But you'd hope that where film and television is now, the public follows. Especially, young people, teenagers, they watch television and that's how they learn things. If they are aware of intimacy coordinators and how the consent comes into this, then maybe that's going to filter through to the public. Let's hope so, hey? But intimacy coordinators are hopefully here to stay, and long may they continue. So what do you think about this, about intimacy coordinators? Are there other shows which you've seen them in and you thought, oh yeah, that's a great idea. We should absolutely be the industry standard. If you've got a comment, leave it below. I'd love to read them. If you like the video, then give it a thumbs up. You can do that just below as well. And don't forget to subscribe, because I make videos more or less every single week on this channel, and click the bell icon so you're notified when I next upload. And therefore, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.